lasted 6 months, during which time Mother left my father for a woman named Helen, who was 10 years her junior and bent on destruction. Mother wasn't naturally a warm person. I know that now, and she must have been lonely and frustrated for years, surrounded from dawn to dark, as she was, by the unlovely spectacle of maleness. A frequent expression upon entering a room in which her sons were engaged in some rude or rowdy masculine behavior was, "Why are boys so?" As the youngest, I took this to heart and tried to please her, not without some success. I kept my corner of the bedroom spotless, made my bed with the strict hospital corners she used on her own, rinsed my dishes at the sink after the pot roast, meatloaf, or fried chicken dinner, and expressed an interest in being read to. I wasn't picky about the stories either. Tales of girlish heroism were fine with me, hence my acquaintance with the adventures of such heroines as Nancy Drew, the Dana Girls, and all the travails of the shrewdly observant Laura in the Little House books. I know, as few men do, my fairy tales, from Rumpelstiltskin to the Little Goose Girl, stories certainly grisly enough to terrify even a stalwart little boy, and which I take to explain the surprisingly violent images that so often surface in the consciousness exercises of young actresses. Mother was a good reader. She changed her voices for the different characters. She had a cackling crone, a booming Goodfellow, and a frightened little girl in her repertory, and she moved from one to the other with ease. Long after I could read myself, I approached her after dinner with a book clutched to my chest and asked if she felt like reading to me. Many times she didn't, and she wasn't terribly nice about refusing me. But when she agreed, I was invited to lean against her on the couch, watch the pages turning beneath her blood-red fingernails, and feel her voice through her arm. She was a smoker, so there was the cloud of smoke wafting up from her lips as Nancy cautioned her dopey boyfriend Ned not to open the suitcase they'd found in the empty house. It was all very comforting and at the same time confusing, also mysterious and sexually disturbing. But I like to remember Mother that way, and myself her favorite, her Leslie, the good boy who hung on her words. When I went off to school and became Edward, I had no clear idea of myself. Perhaps that's why I was drawn to acting. Inside a character, I knew exactly who I was, the environment was controlled, and no one was going to do anything unexpected. It seemed a way of playing it safe. Of course, real acting is the farthest thing from safe a person can get, but I didn't know that then. Perhaps in some corner of my adolescent consciousness, I understood that my mother would eventually crack under the strain of the role she herself was playing with increasing reluctance and incredulity. On school vacations, she and my father were glum and irritable. One night she put a roasted chicken on the table and announced that it was the last meal she was cooking. She joined a reading group, but this quickly bored her and she decided to become a potter. This led to sculpture and ultimately ironwork. On my next vacation, there was a welding torch on the kitchen table, and all food was takeout. A few days before I graduated from high school, my father called me to say Mother was moving out. She would be living with a friend named Helen, someone she had met at the artist co-op where Mother had rented a space to do her sculpture. I saw Mother and Helen together once. They were living in an apartment in Brooklyn, 2 rooms above an Italian deli, strong odor of provolone and red sauce. Helen spent my visit turning over the pages of a fashion magazine at the kitchen table, occasionally fixing me with a baleful glare. She was clearly totally nuts. Mother served me coffee and some hard cookies from the deli. She tried to make small talk, asked about my courses, disapproved of my interest in theater, recommended medicine, law, the usual. I told her I was far too squeamish for medicine. I feel faint when I see my own blood. No, seriously faint. This made Mother laugh, which provoked Helen to push back her chair and shout, "I can't stand..."